All right. So I don't really want to do a video about feminism. It seems stupid to me. I never even really run into it. I hear about it a lot on, podcasts, interviews of different types. It seems like the world is in a giant fit where, at least in the West, it's not fair to have a gender and it's not fair to be anything. You just have to be gray goo. If you're a man, you're part of the patriarchy. If you're a white man, you're part of the super patriarchy. If you're a black guy and you support Black Lives Matter, you're some kind of terrorist. You can't be anything these days. It's a little fucked up, right? So I'm going to try to ignore most of the retarded arguments the retarded people are making. And believe me, there's retarded people on the many different sides of the issue. Notice you want to think that there's two sides. There's not. There's a lot, and they're mostly wrong. So I'm just going to try and speak some of the things I know to be true, and hopefully that adds something valuable to the discussion, if you want to call it that. So first, specialization leads to excellence, right? That's why when you go to college, you major, right? And if you're an arts major, you're probably not an engineering major. And if you're an engineering major, well, you're probably not an entrepreneur trying to start a business at that moment, right? Specialization is what allows us to be good at things. So how do you know that someone is of one specialty and not another? Well, you could test them, right? So how do you know that girls are weaker than guys? You test them, right? Hey, look, here's a giant heavy rock. Can you lift this? No. Okay, well, most guys can, so you're weaker, right? So at some point, people learned that if you collect together and bitch and moan, you can change the world. It works. If you bitch and moan and cry enough, everyone listening to you is tired of hearing about it, and then they change, right? Now, maybe you caused them through your bitching and moaning to notice that they were internally discongruent and they should be living their life a different way. And they're not just irritated. You enlightened them. Okay, maybe that happens. So let's talk about feminism. What is it that feminists want? Well, first, they don't want to be labeled. So they don't want to be called feminists. Unless they're calling themselves feminists and then they're okay with it. All right. Two, they want to get paid more. Which is weird because they already get paid the exact same amount of money for the exact same work. Now, I can think of some places where the work seems the same, like a movie, right? Like a male actor is going to get paid a lot more than a female actress. And you might say, oh, well, they're doing the same work. Yes, but they're not filling the same seats, right? And the people that produce these multi-$100 million films, they really care about getting people into the theater to make the money back and some profit. And if they know that certain names are going to bring more people in, then they're going to pay those people more, right? Or those guys are going to work on different movies. So, for the most part, women get paid the exact same as men for the exact same work. Or you would see things like companies taking advantage of all of these women that work for damn near free. And there would be kick-ass companies full of women doing great work. The company didn't have to pay the girls much because they were willing to work cheap. And you don't find that anywhere. Why? Because they're not willing to work cheap, right? So where does this whole 100%, 70% comparison where people say that women make 25, 30% less come from? Because women get jobs that pay less. It's not that they do the same work and get paid less. It's that they enter into jobs that pay less. Why do they do that? Well, some of them have kids, and when you have kids, it's pretty hard to work, and then there's a big hole in your work history, right? So whatever you were doing, you're not doing it anymore. So if it took you a year to do that, and probably it should take more than a year if you want to do a good job raising your kid, right? I don't think a kid is something where you can pop it out, put a year in, and say, hey, I'm done. I think it takes longer than a year. So if raising children properly takes longer than a year, that year has to come from somewhere. I think that year is going to come out of your profession. So if you took two guys and you took one of the guys and you said, hey, you need to be on pause for, let's call it a couple years, and let's check our earning potentials out. The guy that didn't take a year off is getting bonuses, out competing people, learning new skills. The dude that took a year off is fucked, right? How would he catch up? Why would he catch up, right? So you can't take one gender that takes years off because they should to raise kids, the most important thing that exists. Look, what's more important than kids? Do you like mankind? Would you like it to continue? Well, someone has to have the kids, right? Would you like those kids to be smart and not fucked up? Then their parents need to spend time with them, right? Well, that time needs to come out of their profession. So, point one, women get paid the same for the same work. If it seems like they're not getting paid for the same work, maybe you're missing some side benefit that guys are bringing to the table that girls aren't. Maybe it's filling seats at a movie theater. Maybe it's raw strength. Look at sports. What does the female NBA make? What does the men's NBA make? No one's watching the female NBA. It exists. No one watches it. Interesting. I wonder what percentage of feminists watch the female NBA just to be equal, you know? It's like, hey, I know this other product sucks and they're not as good at it. Nowhere close. But I'm going to pretend it doesn't suck to try and pretend equal, right? Hey, you know when you go to the supermarket and there's like shelves on the bottom that have food that tastes like shit, like that cereal that tastes like it's shredded cardboard, right? Well, those guys are probably just bad at making cereal. So let's level the playing field and not punish them for having bad packaging, bad placement, and bad flavor. Let's go right to the bottom, save a nickel, and eat food that tastes like shit for quality, right? Equality is the fucking enemy, okay? Equality is literally the enemy of excellence, right? Would you rather be at the top of the food chain or in another world where everything eats everything else randomly? I would rather be at the top of the food chain. Would you rather go to the best doctor in the world or the middle of the road guy? You know, could have been a lawyer, wasn't that good at it, decided he would rather work on flesh. I would rather go to the fucking good doctor, right? But for you guys out there sprouting shit without thinking, you guys should go to the bad doctor and make these arguments far easier to win. So if you're arguing for equality, you're an idiot. Equality is not what you want, okay? Excellence is what you want. And in some places where you give people equal opportunity, you get more excellence. That's great. That's what a fair playing field is, right? That's what the government's supposed to do. No monopolies, no consortiums of people conspiring to keep the prices high and not giving anyone any deals. Yeah, that's good. That's a fair playing field, right? Hey, property exists. I can own something and you can't steal it. Or some guy will come and hit you with a stick and bring you to jail, right? Or in America, they might just shoot on sight. Dangerous place over there. So if it's not equality that we want, what is it that we want? Well, let's think about it. Women want more power. Okay, go get it. Go be better at things. The Chinese are doing it. The Indians are doing it. You go to any college and you look at any testing scores of the Indian girls and the Chinese girls, and they destroy white guys, crush them, right? Now, why do they do that? How do they do that? Do you hear the white guys in there like, you know what? We need to make these Indian girls stupider because they're destroying us in all these tests. No, nobody's arguing that. They earned it. They studied harder. They put more hours in, and they get better scores, right? You can do that same shit after you graduate. You can keep outperforming and keep outscoring and keep earning more than everyone else. No one's stopping you, right? Now, if you have free time and you're not spending that time making yourself better, you're not spending that time becoming excellent, you think because you have a vagina instead of a cock that now you deserve some type of like stimulus plan? Like Barack Obama's got to reach into his pocket and hand you cash because you're missing some man meat? It doesn't make any damn sense, right? Why? If you decide to create equality by paying the losers more than the winners because the winners earn more and the losers earn less because the losers lose and the winners win, you get what happened in Russia. That's what happened there. That's why it sucked, right? Like, oh, well, we're not going to let businesses figure out what things cost. We're going to set that from the pricing part of the government who sets the prices. And they're going to set the prices for everything because those guys that work there are somehow going to beat the market and beat the wisdom of crowds. But they didn't, and it was terrible, right? And what did you get? You got more and more corruption because people didn't earn through the free market what they deserved. They took what they could get. And so the saying over there was, we pretend to work and they pretend to pay us. That's a bad system, right? So you women out there that want more, go and fucking get it, right? Look at Europe, right? I shouldn't make fun of Europe, but I'm going to. If you go to France, everybody's on strike, always. So you want to get in a train, trains are on strike. Garbage in the streets, garbage guys are on strike. What's up with all the strikes? Like, when do you guys actually work, right? So if you want to be the society that barely works and has shitloads of free time and, has summer cottages that they spend time in, whatever the deal is, there's a cost to that. It's not fucking free. You're not working. You're not being productive. And therefore, your society is going to lose something. There is a cost to that, right? Now, in America, we have it pretty fucked up. Everyone works all the time. No paid days off. No paid maternity leave. You want to leave? Not getting paid, right? And everyone's in debt up to their necks so that they have to just keep working and working and working and getting more jobs and working more hours just to pay off the debt that they've accrued. Now, that's horrible for the individual. The individual's fucked. It's a terrible, terrible way to exist. Oh, you get a flat tire, you can't drive to work. Can't drive to work, can't pay your rent. Can't pay your rent, lose your house. Can't get a shower from your house, no one wants to work with you. Can't get a job, right? Downward spiral. So it's terrible for the individual. It's really good for the society, right? If you try and start a business anywhere in the world and you want to sell things to people, no one is more likely to buy whatever you're selling than an American. He will go into debt to buy what you're selling. If you try and start a sales business selling anything in the whole rest of the world, they just straight up tell you no. Like, no, not buying it. Nope. And so their economies are slow as fuck because no one will buy anything, right? So, like, look at the startup scene. Look at the general sales numbers. Americans, because they're willing to buy and willing to work like insane madmen to pay off what they bought, it's actually quite good for the world. Bad for the family, bad for the individual, good for the world's economy, right? Which means that those few people that have figured out that you shouldn't sacrifice your whole life for hours and money, they'd get to live a higher quality of life because someone else over there is sacrificing it. It's just like getting paid a lot for doing a dangerous job. Guys are something like 80, 90, 95% of workplace deaths. They work in the dangerous jobs. Women don't. I don't hear a lot of calling by feminists to equalize those numbers. Going and defending your country off in another country, let's be serious, America doesn't actually do a lot of defending their country in other countries. But whatever the hell it is, blowing up brown people and rocks all over the world, shifting the rocks around, Far-Offistan and all that, that's mostly the guys that have to do that. Now, could we send women? Sure. Maybe if we send in 2 or 3 times as many women, sustain 2 or 3 times as much loss, maybe we could get the same job done. I don't hear a lot of people lobbying for women to sign up for the draft. Why not? You guys want equality, right? You want to make more money. So I'm going to need to see some fingers getting cut off, arms missing, a lot more dead ladies, a lot more women blown up by IEDs. Once we get some of those things in, then we could start to call you guys more equal. Or we could stop trying to shove equality everywhere. When I go to eat, the fork does one thing, the knife does another thing. I don't try and use the fork to eat spaghetti, rather the knife. You don't want to eat spaghetti with a knife. It probably is a terrible idea, right? So stop trying to shove equality everywhere, okay? You're not supposed to, when you take your test, there's A, B, C, D, F, right? Well, first, what happened to E? I'm curious. Why does no one get E? And second, not everybody gets the same grade, right? Not everybody's the same height. Not everybody has parents that love them. Not everybody is white or black or brown. Stop trying to make things fucking equal. We don't want more equal. We want more excellence, okay? And so in those few places, well, probably more than few, right? A lot of places equality exists. Genders are not one of them.